Our live broadcast. I'm delighted to welcome Nick and Pete to the studio, and we've also got student Maddie who will ask some of the questions that you've been sending in. So Nick and Pete, thank you very much for joining us today. Lots and lots of questions. Yes, I hope you're prepared. Let's kick straight off. Marlon from Langtree School has asked, what was your favourite scene? So to both of you, who'd like to go first?
We had the same favourite scene, and we'd come off most nights saying how much we enjoyed it, and I think it's Act 5, Scene 1. It's the scene where Don Amado recruits Holofernes and Nathaniel to put on the worthies. And we loved it because we basically just got to sit back and watch John Hodgkinson, who played Don Amado, just take the lead and be absolutely brilliant.
That's right. It's so nice sometimes just to actually say your lines very early on in the scene and then go, OK, now I sit back and just enjoy it. You know, over to you, make them laugh, and then usually sometimes make us laugh as well.
So you become the audience?
Yes. We always become the audience, yeah. But it was a great scene, and it always used to, you know, the audience had then had an interval and they'd come back and they'd be up for it. And it was a great scene to be a part of.
Cool. We've got Tony from Newstead Wood School for Girls asking, how do you feel performing live to so many people?
Nervous.
Yeah, it was terrifying, to be honest. The live broadcast was a big event. I mean,
I suppose you get used to it after doing it for so long.
You do get used to it, but it was still particularly special. That day was particularly nerve-wracking.
Because this one was so you knew that it was something different from what you do every day.
That's right. So it had an extra
lot
pressure.
more people.
You know, the stakes were a little bit higher. But you really want to get your first scene out of the way, and then you feel, OK, I've got the first one out of the way, let's move on, and then the nerves start to dissipate.
Yeah.
Frankie from Holy Cross Catholic First School has asked, how long did it take to learn your lines?
I think it's different for everybody, isn't it?
Yeah, some people are very good at learning lines, others it takes them longer. For me, it takes me quite a long while, actually, and especially with Shakespeare, because Shakespeare's a bit more tricky. So I would write them all out.
Would you?
So, yeah, so every line that I had, I would write out, like writing a letter.
Well, that's what I do when I'm doing exams.
Is that right?
Really?
Because then when I write it, it helps me learn things.
Great minds think alike. Well, that's probably where I sort of learned to do that from. By
school.
School. Come on, school. They helped.
There's lots of them watching us today.
Shay from Eastbury Comprehensive School asked, do you feel that you have managed to unlock the full comedic and artistic potential of this play?
Yes.
Hope so.
Yes, you're not allowed to have your answer shorter than the question.
Okay.
Sorry, we didn't explain the rules.
Yes, I think we probably did. I think that our director, Chris Luscombe, did a superb job of unlocking the comedy in this play and making it easy to follow, entertaining and moving, I think.
And he would also give us quite a lot of freedom for physical comedy as well, especially I know with Costard, so I could do anything, you know, very silly physically, and he would sort of sometimes give me the thumbs up, other times say, that's too much. But actually, I usually had a free rein to play, and that's when drama's at its best and most funny, I think.
So I think you've already answered Leon's question. He's from Uxbridge High School, and he's asked, how much freedom did you have to interpret your character to the way you saw? So it sounds like you've had a lot of freedom. What about you, Pete?
Yeah, I mean,
Great singing, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. The setting...
What did you name the pillow that you were singing to?
No, I didn't. Everyone asked me that. No, I didn't. I probably
pet name for the pillow?
No, just
Gladys.
Just Gladys, yeah, Gladys. Gladys was the name of my pillow. The period, I guess, kind of means that there's certain choices you can't make. You know, setting it in 1914 means there's certain kind of behaviours, physical choices, which instantly become wrong. But that's helpful because it guides you towards a kind of...
You can't get your smartphone out.
You can't do that, for one. No.
It sort of gives you parameters, doesn't
Yes, exactly, to work.
So you know that,
yeah.
you know, it's sort of easier to form your character, I suppose.
Yeah.
Because you know in that period people reacted a certain way, or they were very posh, or they, you know, or very like a gardener, not quite so posh. Or Moth, actually, not too posh.
Not too posh at all.
But you were well behaved, I thought.
Very well
in
behaved.
a cheeky
Yeah,
way.
very well
Exactly.
behaved. Yeah.
Shoe Valley School want to know, what did you do on day 1 of rehearsals?
The first thing we did is we sat around in an enormous circle and met about 120 people whose names we soon forgot, and very nervously said, I'm Peter and I'm going to be playing Moth. And it was kind of the most terrifying thing, probably the entire job, I think. The first days are always awful. And then we saw the model box and were astonished.
Yeah, which was showing us the set for the first time, so we had an idea of what the production was going to hold for us.
And then I think we heard bits of the music for the first time. Nigel, the composer, came in and played us his first few ideas.
Exciting.
Yeah.
Then we actually got round to doing the play, but reading it around the table so we could hear everybody. That's the most nerve-wracking thing.
You have to start to get to know everyone, don't you? So
Yeah, exactly.
Cameron from the Samuel Lister Academy has asked, would the female characters have originally been played by women in Shakespeare's time or men?
Men. Yeah. Yeah,
Like his other plays? Yeah.
Absolutely, yes. It was only much later on when women started playing the women's roles. So in Shakespeare's time, it was always men. Usually the younger members of the company as well. So the younger boys would actually be asked to play the women's parts because their voices were probably higher. And of course, they looked much prettier.
Yes.
We've got Lily from Springhead Primary School asking, how is it different acting in a Shakespearean play than in a modern play?
That's a good question. Well, the classic, I mean, to do something that has lasted for so many years, the one great thing about that is you know that it works. So when you're doing a classic Shakespeare play or other writers, you know that over the test of time that play is still relevant today. So you know that it works. Sometimes when you're in a modern play and it's the first time that it's ever been done, you're not quite sure if it's going to be that good, But it's good to sort of mix it up, I think, sometimes to do a Shakespeare like we've been doing and then possibly next time to do something modern. Then I'll probably be able to answer the question even better. But yeah, that's a very good question, isn't it?
It is. I guess there's an extra size to Shakespeare, I guess, as well. The language means that you kind of have to make bold choices, I think,
yes.
to make it work, to make it communicate to an audience.
I suppose it gives you the chance as well to have your own approach to the play as well, because it's been done by other people.
Yeah,
that's right. You're sort of sometimes standing in very large footsteps from all the people that have played that part before. So you want to, as actors, to put your own slant on that, and that's a nice thing to have the opportunity to do.
Mariam and Hannah from Eastbury Comprehensive School have asked, why isn't this Shakespeare play as popular as the other plays? I mean, and following on from what you've just said, actually, does that mean that it was easier to be part of this because you hadn't seen so many performances? Perhaps?
Possibly, yeah, maybe. I think because Love's Labour's Lost is actually quite a difficult play. I think it's very, very, very wordy, and audiences can feel a bit put off by that because a lot of it is about people showing off how clever they are, how brilliant they are with words. And I think if an audience feels like they don't know what's going on, then they very quickly don't want to be there. So I think that's why it's not done that often.
Yeah, and it's difficult.
It is difficult.
And our director cut quite a lot of areas of the play which we wouldn't understand these days.
There's no point.
No, exactly right, because it would be lost on that sort of works, doesn't it? But it would be lost on the modern day audience. So sometimes it's good to get to the nitty gritty, as it were, to the story, so that it has a sort of accessibility to more people.
Maybe that's the key, is you need someone good enough to recognise what to get rid of as well.
Yes.
It's in that script editing or forming a new script.
That's right, and to be brave enough to do it,
yeah.
I think, because some people think, oh, it's Shakespeare, we shouldn't touch it, we shouldn't cut this, we shouldn't change that word. And sometimes it's good to do that, to bring it up to date. I'm sure the great man would be doing it now if he was sitting here with us, probably saying, your word was much better than mine, or maybe, or not, as the case might be.
Talking of words,
yes.
You had to say the longest word.
The longest word.
That Shakespeare's ever written.
You're going to make me say it now, aren't you?
Of course. That's the only reason you've been invited.
That's why I'm here, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, which is Honorific Dignitatis.
All right.
Which has...
Pete, can you say it?
No.
Say it again, see if you can just...
kind of actor.
Go on, let's try.
Honorifica.
Honorifica.
Bilitude.
Dignitatis. Honorifica bilitude dignitatis.
Yeah!
Oh, not bad.
You did hear that probably about
every night.
75 times every night the show was played. So.
And it means?
It means
something to do with honour?
The honour of being honoured.
Okay.
The honour of being honoured.
And how many letters does it have?
I think, if I remember correctly, it has 27 letters.
Okay.
27.
So I wonder how many people watching us got that right.
Got that right.
I'll leave it to the schools to give out the prizes. That's up to you, teachers.
Yeah, I wouldn't like to spell it. That would be quite tricky.
But you know it's got 27
but I know,
letters.
I think, 27 letters.
Maybe you can have a spelling bee competition.
That would be good,
yeah.
wouldn't it? That's one to remember in there. Honorific bilitude dignitatis. Come on.
Oh, you're just
now
showing
I'm just
off.
showing off.
You might as well. You've learnt it.
Hannah from Baines Endow's primary school wants to know, why is it called Love's Labour's Lost?
Another very good question. I think it's about love. In terms of the labour bit, the men put a lot of hard work into trying to win their love.
Rather than studying.
And in terms of the lost, it doesn't work out, because at the end of the play the girls go, nah, tell you what, wait a year, and then we'll see. So, yeah.
How did changing the time period of the play affect the content of the play? This is from Alice from Champion Home School.
Well, it gave it such a good theme to play it in a kind of Downton Abbey setting in a way.
It reminded me a little bit.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, by putting it in that setting, all of a sudden you could arrange the characters within the play to certain jobs within the house.
Yes.
Like those that would work downstairs, those that are upstairs.
Yeah.
And this sort of helped to clarify them, really, to give them a role. And it seemed to work so well in that setting. So in that respect, it sort of changed things. But in a way, I think for me, I mean, it made it a much simpler outlook on how to do it, because it is complicated.
Yeah.
And it gave it an easy direction, I think, didn't it?
Well, yeah, and it's a period of very clear rules about the way people are meant to behave. So you can make choices about when you know that your character is choosing to misbehave.
Yes, that's true.
Which is great fun to do that, and to know that you're making that choice to do that, and that it raises the stakes of doing that. For example, when Moth sits down, he shouldn't sit down, he's a servant. He should never sit down in the house. So Donna Amada says, come on, sit down. And he, can I? Okay, I can.
Yes, exactly.
He's being naughty.
But what is Moth in the original written play? Does it ever say?
It doesn't. He's
right,
often attached to Don Armado. He's often Spanish, like Don Armado. But we wanted him to be a worker within the household.
Have a bit more of a relatable job.
Yeah.
Adam from Parkmatters School wants to know, is it easier to learn script in verse than in prose?
Yeah, most of my words were actually, I think, in prose.
Mine's prose, mainly.
Prose, but yes, the great thing about verse is, of course, when it rhymes, you know where you're sort of heading, because there's a line that rhymes with another line, so you think, oh, if you're suddenly going, oh God, I don't quite know what the end of the line is, you know it's going to rhyme, so that helps you.
I think the great Shakespeare verse speeches are actually quite easy to learn, because they're so brilliant.
That's right, and they have a rhythm,
thought
of
leads
course.
to the next one, so that's actually easier to learn, in my opinion.
What you might think is more difficult, actually, is probably simpler, once you get on the roll of it, isn't it? But then you can get big chunks of prose and think, oh, crikey. Although I know what we're talking about, the words that he's used are quite difficult. So that can end up being more complicated in a way.
Okay.
Sam from Matthew Arnold County Secondary School has asked, do you think the ending of the play is as sad as the pre-war production in the original script?
I think both are sad.
It's quite dramatic, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's quite a funny play.
Well,
Suddenly, actually, it
to have had
brings
a comedy.
you back down to reality, doesn't
it's
it?
like pulling the rug from under your feet. You know, you've got all comfortable.
It's like the fun's over.
The fun's over now. You know, somebody has died, and the princess, you know, is put in a different position. She now becomes the queen, and there's the stakes are raised right at the end of the play, not all the way through it, but right at the end. All of a sudden, when you've been laughing, you're suddenly told to be like, no, it's not funny anymore. There is a task in hand for the boys, and there's
Everyone
a bigger
has to grow
task
up really quickly.
Exactly, for the princess. That's right. So it is. That's exactly it. Growing up very quickly.
Caroline from the Grange School says something to do with costume. Did the king and his lords find difficult to keep their white suits clean?
Yes, the wardrobe department had a bit of a task on their hands, keeping them away from any coffee or tea or food.
No, or dirty gardeners
or
as
dirty
well.
Gardeners.
You know, go and give them a hug.
The key was to stay away from you.
Stay away from me, because I was very mucky, so I couldn't go anywhere near them. So, but yeah, they're very pristine, and you know, there's a whole load of people backstage who are looking after both the ladies and the men in those beautiful costumes to make sure that they're spotless.
Yeah, the girls weren't allowed to go upstairs in their dresses.
Oh, really?
They got changed by the side of in and out by the side of the stage, and those dresses never went up a single stair or anywhere near anything that could be spilt on them or anywhere near any gardeners.
Yeah, it's true.
Did you have a specific line or quote from the play that you really like? This is from Davina from Hydesville Tower School.
My favourite one,
apart from the word, of course.
apart from the honorific ability, is actually something that somebody else says, which is Constable Dull. And I think sometimes it's renowned as the biggest laugh in the whole of the show, which is when he says, nor understood none neither, which is a direct comment to Holofernes' question of, did you understand that? And he says, no, I haven't understood a word. Thanks very much. So it's, I think the
and
way...
it gets quite a laugh, doesn't
It
it?
used to get, the crowd used to love it, and it got a massive laugh. And actually, sometimes I'd be laughing backstage because it was timed to perfection by lovely Chris McAlfee, who played Constable Dull, timed to absolute perfection, and also it was, it's just a classic line, because we go into Shakespeare sometimes thinking, I don't know, this is quite scary, I don't understand this, and for some character that directly has to say that to an audience, I don't understand any of this, is kind of sublime, I think.
Maybe that's where certain lines in Shakespeare stand out, because there's a lot that people don't really understand and ignore, and then those lines that are key to a plot, or like you said,
That's
one
right.
of the funniest bits, and they remember those
And they
one or two
remember-
lines from each play.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes that comedy of that allows you in, allows you to go, that's quite funny, I might read some more. And that's brilliant, that's what it should do.
I've got Jasmine from Harris Hart Homeschool asking, did Shakespeare also write the music and lyrics in the play? If not, who did and why?
I'll answer this.
You do the singing. You do most of the singing.
So a wonderful composer called Nigel Hess composed the music, predominantly using Shakespeare's lyrics, but not always. Do you remember?
Michael Drayton, I
Thank
believe.
you. So the song I Do to the Pillow, So Well I Love Thee, was using the words of a Michael Drayton poem.
Yes, that's right.
I believe. But the Worthies was Shakespeare.
The Worthies is all Shakespeare's words.
And the Russians. So the Russians and the Worthies are not always necessarily done as a song and dance routine. So the director chose to turn them into big musical
Numbers,
spectaculars.
that's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So music was written especially for it.
Roisin from Our Lady of the Assumption has asked, why did the king make the rule in the first place? So I think this is the rule about...
No women.
Exactly. Studying hard.
To study, yeah. The king wanted to devote his life, or at least
2 years?
2 years, yeah, to studying, and he thought
Further education.
further education,
And thought that girls got in the way of
girls, food, sleeping,
that's right.
are the things that stop you from studying. Nowadays, he probably banned mobile phones, probably banned Twitter, Facebook.
Yeah,
Yeah.
in order to concentrate on the studies. So that's why he did it.
Luckily, we haven't banned Twitter today. That's how half of these questions have come in.
Well,
Oh, there we
it
go.
can be some
Thank
good.
goodness,
So
it
can
can
eating,
be
so
good.
can women.
Yeah, absolutely.
George from the Grange School asks something slightly different this time. What is your favourite Shakespeare play and why?
Ooh, favourite Shakespeare play. That's
And don't worry, you don't have to say this one.
Don't have to say that. Yeah, no. I really love Much Ado. Actually, Much Ado About Nothing, which is Love's Labour's Won, which I think is a broadcast. Actually, I think that's a fantastic play with both comedy and sort of tragedy, wrapped into one, which is brilliant. So, yeah, Much Ado About Nothing would probably be my favourite.
Okay.
Apart from Hamlet, which is a lot of people's favourite, I think, which is brilliant.
Measure for Measure for me, because it was the first play that I studied at school where I really went, wow, who's this guy Shakespeare? Wow, he's brilliant. I want to read more of his plays.
Well, talking about Love's Labour's Won, Molly from Montgomery High School Academy has asked, can you explain how this play links to the next live screening, which of course is Love's Labour's Won?
Yes. So the end of Lost is of course 1914, and we see the 4 boys going off to fight in the First World War. The top of Love's Labour's Won, we see a group of soldiers returning from war. So that's 1918.
And the house is being used as a hospital at this point, so they arrive in the hospital, which is run by Leonato, who's the master of the house, and his daughter and niece. And the soldiers come in, and a new story begins.
And when these plays were on in Stratford-upon-Avon, did you show them at the same time or on the same day, or did a lot of the audience come and see both together? Are they meant to be seen together?
They can be seen together. I think those who saw them together find it incredibly satisfying to do so. So on the matinee days, we do a lost matinee and then a one evening performance. And they were our favourite days.
Yeah, they were great
because
days.
we felt like everyone went on a big journey with us on that day. And by the end of one, something very nice happens. And I think everyone was very happy to see that nice thing happen.
I remember watching that.
Yeah.
I was very happy.
Going to keep everyone in
Yeah,
suspense.
that's exactly right.
So you
On
better tune
tenterhooks.
into the next broadcast,
Come
everyone.
on, that's the way.
Meg from Chew Valley School asked, did you find the transition between performance and rehearsal space difficult? I imagine it might be a bit a challenge or...
It was, we had quite a long period on rehearsal for the Shakespeare plays. And so by the time we got into the space, into the theatre, we had run the play, the whole play, quite a lot of times. So we were getting much more au fait with it, and I felt quite comfortable moving into the space.
Yeah.
The most difficult thing is your voice, because all of a sudden, of course, you've got to spill, bless you, a much bigger space. It's about 1,100 seater theatre. So, and you're in this sort of rehearsal room.
I suppose being on stage, getting into the moment, slightly easier when you've got all the set as well around.
It is.
Exactly right.
It is.
Yeah. When everything's working correctly and you've got the set, and it's just a case of hold on for the ride and enjoy it. But yeah, it was kind of a thing to suddenly get used to. But there are voice coaches with the RSC, so they help you to project your voice louder. And but after a week or so, you're into it, really.
Yeah, and I think also the thing about the RSC is that it's so brilliant, and the stage management department is so brilliant, that in rehearsals, you've used things that are either the actual set and props or very, very, very similar. So when it comes to getting on the real set, it's not suddenly this new
different
world. You think, what on earth is that? So it makes that transition a lot easier.
Most
They
of
don't
that
spring it
furniture.
on you.
No, exactly.
They know what
Exactly.
they're doing.
They know what
Exactly.
they're doing. They're professionals.
Exactly.
That's right. Unlike us two. But it's true. Most of that furniture was exactly the same furniture as we'd used.
Yeah.
They even built. For the next play, they built a big snooker table so they could play snooker on it as well within the show. So, but that's again for you to see next time.
No, I didn't even think of this. Obviously, you're studying acting, so this is something you think of. I forget that you are in another room. In my head, you're just rehearsing on that same stage.
Yeah.
I forget there are other plays going on. You can't just do that.
But they built the roof. So there was.
It was very entertaining.
It was very entertaining. This roof that always, on every run through of the show, they had to build and move this roof into the centre of the stage so that it represented the roof coming up from underneath the stage, And so even the guys had that to work on as well. So
It looks very good.
Easy transition.
Lucy from Our Lady of the Rosary has asked, do you like playing the part of Costard because you look like you're having fun, Nick?
It was a nightmare.
Are you ever not smiling, Nick?
I usually am smiling.
Yeah,
Usually. I can't believe I'm here. But yeah, it was great fun to do. It was, it's always fun to play the comic characters in a little comedy, and when people laugh at what you're doing, there's no better feeling, And Costard is such a sort of witty chap. He's sort of caught in the midst of this story that it was a joy to sort of try and become him and say the big long word that is, and all of that. It was great fun to do. Yeah,
Is he really as silly as he's made out to be? When it came to the letter mix-up, was that a little bit on purpose?
Well, if you go back to the play, I think some of it is on purpose.
Yeah. Does he put on the act to make people think?
Well, he's a bit anarchic, as you could call him that. He's a little bit of a funster, so he likes to mess people about a bit. So some of it could have been joke, but actually that developed through doing the show, because I suddenly realised that, because he had his pocket at the front, his gardener's thing, that it was very easy to get them mixed up without knowing. And actually, what's more fun? Is it more fun to know that you're doing it, or is it more fun to do it and then go, oh no, I've given the wrong letter? Which I sort of thought possibly the latter is more fun, to watch him in a kind of cringy way going, that's not the one you're supposed to read. And then you just got to go with it, because that's happened, and we'll just hopefully everything will be okay in the end.
Did you always play him the same every night?
I did change bits and bobs now and again.
Yeah.
So it's sort of good to sort of change things up, see what happens. But most of it is pretty much similar, isn't it? Most nights? He's not saying anything. Yeah. So.
Depends who's watching.
Really? What special guests did you have watching?
I'm joking.
Yeah. No. Always the same.
Always the same.
Jaden from Conisborough College says, what's the best play you've performed in? So, in general, both of you, which play would you say is been the most enjoyable? I suppose you've got to see this one now.
This is genuinely my favourite.
Mm-hmm.
Genuinely.
That's good.
I mean, we finish it on Saturday, so I'm perhaps still kind of have rose-tinted spectacles on. But I think in
Must
10
be
years' time,
exhausted.
we are exhausted, but I think in 10 years' time, I'll still probably say this one.
Oh, that's
I
good.
think.
Nice.
Well, that's I remember doing a long time ago, it's a play that some people might know, called Bouncers, all about nightclub bouncers. And it was 4 people, and we were all on stage for about 2 hours pretending to be nightclub bouncers. And there's lots of silly scenarios within it that sort of look at, nightclubs and people that go into nightclubs. And you play the girls, you play the boys, you play all these different characters. So I think for me, quite liking playing lots of different people, I think I enjoyed that.
That's good.
Harry from Shakespeare Primary School, that's a great name for a school, and it's Shakespeare Week too as well, has asked, how long have you been acting and how often do you rehearse for a play? So I guess the rehearsal question is different play to play, but how long have you both been acting?
As a hobby, since I was about 7, so 22 years.
So you never played up for your parents before that? That's quite good.
Well, I probably did, but I didn't do it in costume. And then as a professional since I graduated in 2008, so nearly 7 years.
I was a bit of a later developer than him, I think, because I started probably when I went to drama school at 18, so I think a teacher said, go on, you're quite good at this, you like putting on silly hats and doing silly faces. So that was probably when I was 12, and then properly when I was 18 going to drama school, and 21 when I left, and that's probably 26 years ago.
Wow.
Crikey, so that's a long time, and I still aren't any better. Yeah, haven't improved.
You're so good. I think you must be like the gardener all the time.
In real life,
Yeah.
it's unbelievable.
So
I just play
that's how
myself.
convincing you are. That's how with the bit where Harry asks, how often do you rehearse for a play? When it came to this play, was it rehearsals every single day? In the lead up?
It was for a long time, yeah.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
We sort of, because whilst we were rehearsing this play, we also rehearsed 2 other plays. And that was over a period of about 15 weeks. But in total, I suppose, we spent on this play, what was it, 7 weeks?
7 weeks,
probably, to sort of get the play completely under our belts.
Through performing that play for so long, you don't get bored at all of performing it then, do you? I'm guessing you don't. You, after probably the adrenaline of every night, you get excited still, or is it sort
Absolutely, and I think, at times we were doing 3 different plays in a week. That helps keep it fresh and often we've not done it for, say, 6 nights. So there is a degree of fear.
Yeah, the nerves
going into it, thinking, am I going to do the right play? Am I going to play the right part?
Did you ever get the wrong line in the wrong play?
No, but there are days where I just have to
miracle.
remind myself.
Sometimes get your lines wrong.
Yeah, of course.
And suddenly go, did you hear what I said? Did anybody notice? And, that happens on occasion.
Yeah.
Shouldn't tell the director that, but that does happen on
I
occasion.
think the director will have
knows,
noticed.
I'm sure he knows.
Don't think you need to tell him.
Exactly right. But, sometimes, you're thinking, hang on a minute, I'm coming up to that piece. I'm not quite sure what I say there. I know I have to say something once I come on stage.
Does someone else just prompt you a little bit? Or do you have prompters at the side or anything, kind of whispering? Loud whisper.
Loud whisper. I don't... There's a lady there, isn't the stage manager?
There is someone there if you need... I mean, what's tended to happen is you see the kind of slight glazed look of fear in your friend's eyes, and you see how long you can wait before you help them. That's what's tended to happen.
How do you help them? Do you say their line, or do you say
smile.
your line again?
You smile and it comes back to them.
That's what it is. Or you come out with your line slightly earlier than you should do.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Dave Bank Primary School ask, how do you manage to remember all of your lines and act at the same time? Because obviously Shakespeare is such a difficult language. If you're trying to learn that, it must be a bit distracting whilst trying to act as well.
Do you know, I think they're all one and the same, I think. So if you think in your acting, you are only acting what you're saying. And that's, as long as you incorporate those 2 and you have conviction with both those things and are truthful in what you say and mean to say it, it just comes out, and it's sort of, that's sort of the way to do it, I think. That is acting, I mean,
I was taught to write it out in normal language and then act it, and then kind of just put the Shakespearean language back in.
Well, that's really good. I mean, we spent a lot of time in the rehearsals going through every single line, you know, all of us sitting around the table, so that we understood everything that we were saying. So there's not one word that comes out you think, I don't know what I'm saying, I'm just doing it, I'll just act it, you know. The best acting is when you know exactly what you're saying, why you're saying it, you know. So it's sort of, you incorporate the two and the performance will be better, I think.
That's all we've got time for today.
No.
Sorry.
Wow,
I know, we just got going.
Wow.
Oh, thank you for coming in. A huge thank you to the hundreds of schools, thousands of students from across the UK who've tuned into the Production Hour event today. And thank you, of course, to both of you and to Maddie and Guy. Let's not forget Guy. If you want to carry on the discussion, please email the RSE at schoolsbroadcast@rse.org.uk or head over to Twitter after school using the hashtag RSELost and tell us your thoughts. So that's it from us for now. Do enjoy the rest of your school day and we'll see you again very soon. Bye.